Hello, everybody. Welcome again to another Technical Sports Services video with, again, us as the Britball with the Breens. From the drawing board, we've updated our stuff because we have some new stuff coming out in the new year. So we've been playing about with some graphics. So today we are going to have a look at pass plays to beat cover three. Now, we've already done red zone and we've done cover two. And again, we've put in some notes here. So a few little notes to start with. Especially in Britball, cover three is more widely used for defenses. It's simpler to understand and implement, and it's harder for offenses to break down. It's also easier to disguise cover three as cover one or switch between the two coverages at last minute. So for cover two, if a quarterback sees that, you know straight away there's two high safeties. Cover three and cover one, if you're clever, you can disguise them both exactly the same and move into the zones uh, on the cadence or after the snap. Um, this is based on base cover three zone with no adaptations, and we understand that teams will change schemes, cover three cloud and stuff like that, things that make it look like it's cover one and they shift it last minute. That's fine, but we can't take that into consideration here. This is just base cover three. And without being horrible, a quarterback that can't stay in the pocket and read the zones will struggle with these plays. You need to be able to read where the defenders are going in order to find the matchups. And honestly, the last play in this group, Chris is going to have to talk you through it because it took me a good 5 minutes to understand where he was coming from. But he knows a lot more about what the quarterback's seen than I do. I just understand the defensive side. So we'll go through them each. First of all, this is cover three base. So the cornerbacks drop into deep zone on their sides. Free safety has deep middle. Outside linebacker here tend to have the flat or kind of the flat curl area. Strong safety does the same on the other side. Both linebackers in the middle. One middle, slightly left zone here. One middle, slightly right zone here. And then you've got your four defensive linemen. Obviously, could change to 3-4, and that changes. But again, the principle is the same. I'll do one forward one. You will notice here that even the way I've drawn it, there are some mighty big holes here. Okay, and that will be evident in some of the plays that we've done. So although this free safety is his coverage is the middle of the field, he is to cover a lot of ground, and really you have to be extremely quick to play against cover three. Play cover three against good offenses if you're playing free safety position. So first one we have. Or you want to mention something there?
It's one of those things when you're looking at coverages like this. Generally, when you're playing, for example, things like cover two, as Sean kind of said, it's quite easy to notice. Generally, you see it. It's quite difficult to disguise pre-snap. The advantage of cover three is that you can disguise it a bit better as cover one. However, what you're relying on with this kind of defense is that guys get to where they're supposed to be quickly. Things like your cornerbacks can line up quite shallow and have to drop very deep. Your strong safety and your linebacker on the outside have to get from quite inside line alignments to drop out into those curl flat zones, because otherwise, if they were already positioned out there, not only would it give it away, it's going to leave only sort of 5 men in the box, 6 men in the box, and you're literally going to run the ball down their throat every single time if you see it. Like most zone coverages, again, especially things like cover three, it's more of a prevent style defense. So you're probably going to see more of this kind of stuff in that third and long situation, for example. However, in our level of the game, you tend to see teams that just love to use it, as you said, because it's simpler. So really what you're going to want to do against, zone coverage like this is, because of the distance they have to travel, you are going to want to get the ball out quick to the outside in things like screens, or you're going to want to get everybody to drop out into their zones and run the ball, so run things like quarterback draws or halfback draws, generally to take advantage of people bailing it.
Yeah. I guess one other thing that here is that where this linebacker is really depends on the strong side. Obviously, the strong sides, strong safety, and the outside linebacker on the side are pretty interchangeable. So if this was a strong side, the strong safety likely comes across here. All the linebackers bump across, and this linebacker bumps out a bit. So it's there. And for the cornerbacks, the reason that this is used so much in our leagues is that the first rule of cornerback is don't give up the touchdown. So in cover three, do not give up that touchdown. So cover three allows you to be the deepest man in this section of the field, and doesn't have the same risk as playing man, or cover one, or straight up press up against some of the better receivers. Right. So first play, one of the simplest ones, straightforward hitch corner. Now we'll go to the running back first purely because of play action. Now, as Chris said here, this play action is purely to stop these guys bailing straight into their zone, right? But to be honest with you, it's not even the first read, right? I have heard Chris on numerous occasions tell me that if this corner sits 6 or 7 yards off and doesn't come up, he will throw this hitch 100 times in a row until this corner comes and gets you. And it's quite frankly the easiest way to play this one. If this corner line, either corner to be fair, if either corner lines up too deep, it's a 5-yard hitch, it's a 5-yard gain. And it's not a hard throw for a quarterback to make, Chris, is it?
No, I mean, I guess kind of the main emphasis on stuff like this is generally what you're going to see is a cornerback that sits off. So your main focus on this is that he's going to be in a position to potentially jump the route. So if he's still sitting off at that 7 yards, the ball needs to come out quick. It needs to be timed. But generally, if you hit that timing route with the cornerback not coming down until he sees the cut, you're gaining 5 yards every play. And quite frankly, if you're going to gain 5 yards every play, you're going to get to the end zone in a hurry. And it leaves that kind of corner on an island. And if he's not making that break quick enough, you're giving that guy on the outside the chance to, be able to turn up field, and it's a case of make one man miss. So, yeah, it's a relatively easy throw. It's just making sure that you get that timing and that you're not being caught cheating, looking over, so that the guy has a chance to come down.
Yeah, and really, and this is where this other route comes in, is that if you get him a couple of times with this, he'll start creeping. The moment he creeps up a couple of yards, he is now not defending his deep zone, and that is where the corner comes in. So the moment you bait this corner to come up, or this, it doesn't matter either side, but I use this side to example because majority of quarterbacks are right-handed. So if he comes up the slightest bit early, then you bait him, and it leaves this corner route open, and the free safety, as I said, no matter how good he is, has a lot of ground to cover to get out to this guy. Now, I say if he's really good, then he might get there. But even then, if you have a decent wide receiver in here of decent size with good catching ability, the likelihood that he gets over there to that receiver and stops him catching the ball is pretty slim.
The main emphasis again on this kind of corner route sort of stuff. Apologies there, Sean.
Sorry.
You may have an absolute athlete of a free safety that can cover, sideline to sideline quickly, but in this situation, he's in cover three, sitting in a deep zone. You put this ball on the sideline to the cornerback, he will not get there, no matter how much of an athlete he may be. He will not get out to that corner route if you put that ball right in the sideline. So, that's why you're really looking for that catch in that cornerback, get him coming down, because he will not get out to that sideline. So make sure you put that ball outside. You leave it inside, you're asking for trouble.
And I guess from the other side is that if he knows that you're a right-handed quarterback and you're going to favour this side, this is again where the play action comes in. So if you're aiming, you bait the play action here, free safety starts to come down or starts to go out to this side, then you've got this shot to take. So that's where it becomes really difficult for this free safety. As I said, there are players out there that are fast enough to get out to the corner route. But as Chris said there, if this ball is placed on the sideline, he may get there to make the touchdown saving tackle, but it is very unlikely that he gets out there to make an interception or break up the pass. It's an extremely hard route to cover. And because everybody else should be playing their zone, there is nobody else here if this corner bites down. This corner bites down, he leaves his free safety wide open. And that will happen. Numerous times I've seen that happen where we've ran a hitch, corners ran right down towards you, and you run a guy right in behind him, and he's got absolutely no hope. So this one is a really simple play. Like we've tried to be a bit more creative when we've been doing these, but this one can't be not put in to beat a cover 3 defense because it is just so easy if it's done right. Right, so second one, safe read. Okay, now I say this one because that's exactly who you're reading. You're reading the safety. Now, obviously, there's quite a bit going on here, and some of it isn't, like, for instance, this running back route, you're not going to throw this, right? It's a death trap, or B, a pick six city. But him coming out the backfield makes sure that this safety plays his zone, that he doesn't cheat and aim at bumping this tight end too early, because if he comes in and this running back runs out, he has all sorts of field to play with. Okay, so he is there really as a distraction for this strong safety. Make sure he plays honest, right? Then we have two post routes, one from the outside right receiver and one from the inside slot left receiver. Now, the reason we have both of these going deep is the free safety then has to make a choice. And that's because of this underneath in route. Now, for a quarterback here, if this in route gets run and this free safety comes down to get it, you throw the ball right over his head. This guy's not going to be covered. This guy, if I'm honest, if he's playing against a good corner, this corner will follow him into his zone and he will follow him the whole way. He should do. If he's any half decent, he will realize that there is no other threat in his deep zone and he will continue to follow this guy. But the free safety comes down on this guy too early. It is a massive touchdown shot right over his head. If he reads this inside post and he drops, this guy sneaks in behind all the linebackers and you hit him in between one of the gaps. Now, obviously, these backers will all drop into zone. This one and this one. And this one lightly comes up to cover the curl and flat area. So it either has to be quite a quick throw between these two linebackers, or you have to wait longer for this play to develop till he comes out the back of the middle backer. But again, it leaves the safety on an island where he has to make a decision, and his decision should be the base of what the quarterback decides to do. The hitch on the other side, just for the same reason, the hitch corner, it's such a quick, easy route. If we're looking if we're looking at this one and we just want to gain 5 yards and we've called this play, then this is maybe the easiest route to go to. But this is all about reading this guy right here, and he's straight down the quarterback's eyes, so it's not like he has to move his head around, and he can stare this guy down, see exactly where he goes before he decides to make this throw.
Yeah, I mean, another thing with this is that although, assuming you have got the hitch option on the outside again, if they are dropping well off, you just keep taking that 5 yards again. Another thing with this as well is, although that cornerback on the right-hand side, you're saying he'll likely track with the post, if you're able to get that free safety coming over to cover the post from the slot, what that corner is going to be doing is he knows that in cover 3, he's got a free safety on that middle zone of the field, and he's more inclined to take that outside leverage, and he's going to give up that inside edge because he knows he's got that help in the middle. If you pull that free safety away from the middle, you're making the hole bigger, and you've got a one-on-one matchup with a post with a guy who's going to have inside leverage, and you're going to take that, you're going to take that 9 times out of 10 if you see it. So it's all about being aware. You're stretching the holes in that zone. If you remember back to the drawing at the start, showing that, the idea of the zones, that is kind of that gap between the two the thirds deep, and as I say, you're making that gap bigger. There's a couple other things. Obviously, you have the strong safety there to rotate down to cover the back, but if you feel that maybe that outside linebacker on the left hand side from the where we're looking at isn't quite coming straight down into his curl flat like he should be, then you would switch the backside and get him to flare out to the left. That's going to drag him down, and that the tight end is going to come free with a lot of space after that middle linebacker.
Yeah. So again, these plays are good because they have more than one option. That is the sole reason we pick them is because they have more than one option. There's nothing worse than a one read. If it's not there, we just take the sack, which we've heard a few times in our time playing, haven't we, Chris?
You've heard it, I felt it, but either way.
Yeah, well, that's true. And for me, when I've played cornerback, I've had times where I've followed this route against teams, and the safety's actually come over for some reason to try and double team this guy, and he's left this guy wide open. I've also, you're right, there is the cases where that if this free safety jumps over to take this post route, then the cornerback has to be very switched on and very good to make sure that he covers this route man to man. And that's the biggest thing here is that on this play there is 3 or 4 options depending on exactly what the defense gives you, and that's why it's so dangerous. So it's something to take into consideration. That one, it's not hard for a QB to read that one. It's not difficult. It's probably one of the easier ones purely because your key read is the free safety first. If they are scheming it up again, so potentially showing cover 3 cloud or something, so that Chris is right, this guy maybe doesn't come down to the flat like he should, then in that case, the quarterback can then adjust his read to looking at the tight end and the running back together rather than the post and the tight end. But again, there's numerous options here that should make it pretty simple for even an average quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, even if you're talking about things like I know we said we kind of weren't really going into too much detail about it, but even if they go into cover 3 where they rotate the free safety over to the left side, they'll leave the cornerback on the left-hand side shallow, the strong safety drops to take the middle, and the corner stays on his deep zone on the right. If you see him dropping off, you're taking the check down to the running back.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything they do is going to leave you with an option to go to. You just need to make sure you're looking at the right keys.
Yeah. Okay, next one. Isolate. Now you will have seen this one before. This play can be used in against a number of different coverages, but we'll explain why it's really good against cover 3 here. So again, this route here really is just a one-on-one shot. So this one is not really what you're going to be looking at. He is running straight into the cornerback, where the cornerback should be. So unless this guy is amazing and this guy is shocking, this isn't your first read. This is right. This guy is destroying the cornerback every play. Let's just lob it to him deep in the end zone every time and see how we go. That is not the read. He is there purely that if he's better than the other cornerback, and if the quarterback wants to look it off, so drag the free safety away. But the likelihood is that's not going to happen. Only a free safety that has no idea what he's doing is going to jump across to that route early, and should be crucified and taken off the field. So we're looking at these 3 routes here. Now, the reason these routes are really good is, again, because they settle inside zones. So we've not given the running back a route or anything here, but again, we'll explain the choices that can go on. So this inside slot receiver here, his route is to run straight at that free safety. Now, the reason you want to do that is because you want the free safety to be held by that route. So again, this is not your first read. This is just to hold that free safety where he is. Now, if the corner does his job, he will drop into the deep zone to cover the corner route. However, that then leaves a deep in, which is right in the gap that we showed you in the first slide. Right in the gap between all the zones. So if this receiver knows that this corner is bailed off to go cover this corner route, he comes in and he sits in the zone, and the QB should be able to have an easy completion. Now, this strong safety should come down to play the curl flat here. This backer will bump out here, but really the ball should be well in this guy's hands before he's coming anywhere near this linebacker's zone. And again, you're trusting this linebacker to be extremely good to get back and out if he wants to make the play on this. Now again, if you are the quarterback and you look this way and the free safety goes, oh, and runs over because he's worried about this side, this guy's going to run straight across his face and he's going to be wide open on the left-hand side of the field. So although this guy isn't there as your primary route, he is there to hold the free safety. If the free safety bails too fast, then this receiver is going to be stark as open in the middle of the field. And you kind of miss him.
Yeah, I mean, generally what you would expect to see in something like this is the strong safety would probably push out a little bit more to cover sort of where the slot is, and you probably get that strong side linebacker pushing out a wee bit as well. But, you know, all that does is already put the strong safety in the zone. And again, if the more they're going to do that, the more you're just going to hand the ball off and run it up the field because they're taking men out of the box. So they have to be careful, kind of catching them in a bind there. But again, if you do get the strong safety already coming down into his zone pre-snap, you know you're going to have more space to work with that deep in on the right-hand side.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, as I said here, is my drawings are pretty terrible. They're done on a little whiteboard, so all the positioning isn't exactly like people will do. People will move about. The strong safety may start 10 yards deep. They may start 5 yards deep. They may start on the end of the line to come to cover the curl flat, but the likelihood is that they won't. The likelihood is they'll start not far from the linebackers, that anywhere in this area here, to make sure that they can get down to cover this area as quick as possible. Again, they won't want this safety sitting deep is a cover two look. They won't have that happen. It will be the strong safety will come down and be in this area before the snap, and you can key off of him a little bit.
And again, if you recognise that, you know, that strong safety, perhaps maybe he's been a bit more diligent, he's not dropping off, you know, he's not coming down, into his zone as quickly as he should. Again, you know, you're able to utilise the back. You can either, you know, flip him to that side, or, you know, you'd run with sort of a fake toss, or you can run a couple of toss plays in that direction first to make sure he comes down. Or again, if you want to, you can run him in a flat, or you can run him in a flare on that side to make sure you keep that strong safety in his zone where he's meant to be.
Yeah, I guess one of the best things about this route for a quarterback, you can maybe tell me here, is that you're looking in this general direction, and these guys are going to cross over. So if you're looking in this general direction, this guy comes in and the corner sits with him, then you're already looking in that direction for the lob over the top, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to wait and see, but what you want, the moment you have to wait for in that situation is basically when your outside receiver makes his cut, because that is the moment that the cornerback's going to have to make his decision. If he stops, take the shot, because the minute he stops, he's not going to get out to cover behind. Again, it's about sort of putting that ball beyond and over the shoulder. But, you know, if he continues to backpedal, again, as soon as that outside receiver makes his cut inside, you have to deliver that ball, because he's not going to be able to then step up and make the play. He might make the tackle, but he's not going to get there before the ball.
Yeah. And again, the running back can be used a number of different ways here, as Chris alluded to. So you can have him, if they all bail out, you can run it straight up the middle in a draw, but we're not here for running plays. He can, however, he can flare out to the left. If this guy bumps in because he's worried about the trip side and they bump everybody over, if he bumps in, you're playing running back on the edge against a linebacker that's in here. You can't really run him out this side purely because the strong safety will be sitting waiting for him. And I've been in that situation and it hurts, so don't do it. But there's a lot of different options there again, and it's all dependent on, and this is what we're saying about, we're not being harsh or anything, but if your quarterback cannot read the zones, it's going to be extremely difficult to put these concepts in because they need to be able to do that. There's no point in just picking a route and throwing it. It's not likely to come off. Right, next one, corner bind. Now, I know you like this one.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of a little play on the hitch corner concept. You'll notice it has a lot of similarities. You've got the two hitches on the outside. However, you're going to have a corner from the tight end on the left-hand side, and you're going to have a post instead from the slot on the right-hand side. Then what you're going to have is a wheel route from your running back. Now, when we draw this up, obviously for the sake of making it look tidy, you're quite wide, but realistically, you want the running back to almost come from his stance immediately and almost past the end of the line of scrimmage and gradually get him further and further outside. Again, the likelihood is that you're going to catch that cornerback in the bind. That's the cornerback bind, where he's going to have to choose. He either has to sit down with the hitch, or he's going to have to bail if he spots the halfback coming from the backfield. If he bails, you take the hitch. If he sits down with a hitch, you take the deep shot. You get the same concept on the other side. You catch him in the bind. If he takes the hitch, you take the corner. If he takes the deep third, you take the hitch. And again, you're going to have that post out there to go straight at the free safety, so you should be holding him. But if he sees the tight end and decides to bail out of there, then what you're going to end up with is you're going to end up with a post from the slot on the right-hand side coming open straight through the middle. Because your running back is flaring from the right-hand side, that strong safety is going to have to crash down into that zone in the flat curl quite hard, and that's why you're going to kind of get that space. And again, it's kind of just realizing where your options are. Take the easiest throw in some aspects. Like, everyone wants to make the glory pass, and realistically, you want to go touchdown, first down, get down in some or check down, depending on what way you like to phrase it. But it's about making smart decisions. If those corners are bailing like hell out of there soon, just keep taking the hitch. There's nothing wrong with taking 5-yard gains every play. And quite frankly, in that situation, it's the smart play to make. So it's about knowing what they're giving you. And eventually you run this sort of stuff, you're going to pull those cornerbacks down. And that's when you get the opportunity to either take that halfback or take the corner on the back side. And again, if that free safety comes down, you're going to get you're likely going to get the post on the right-hand side. Again, even in situations like if they choose to rotate, so the free safety goes to the deep left, the strong safety goes to the deep middle, and the cornerback goes to the deep third on the right-hand side, you can take that wheel route as a flare. You can take it early, because everyone's going to be sort of dropping off on that side, and effectively is going to be left with a one-on-one with a linebacker, and providing you've got a fairly good running back out the backfield, it's a mismatch, and that's what you want. You want to take the mismatch in every situation.
Yeah, and I guess the thing is that there's more than one option here, and that's again what we're going for. This tight end route here, if as soon as this goes off, if that free safety doesn't move, that route's there. The biggest issue, again, for the quarterback here is he has to kind of pick a side, I guess. So if he's aiming to hit one of these two routes, it's really a left-hand side read. You could potentially check down to the flaring back afterwards, but that's a long way to go through. The other side is to read this side of the game, hitch, post, and then the flare out the back. So as Chris says, there's a number of different options, and it's all about reading what the players are doing. Taking a hitch every time, brilliant. Annoying as hell if you're a cornerback, because fine well, if you've got half a brain, fine well that if you come up and try and get this, then they're going to try and throw something in behind you. So really, the only way around it is if you're a smart corner is to just sit at 5 yards and then hope that you're fast enough to get back into your zone if you see anything coming out from inside. But really, there's a few different choices here. Right, last one now. I'm going to play devil's advocate here because Chris can work his way through this as a QB. Now, he's called it
Right,
shifty because I have no idea what's going on in certain bits.
Yeah, I mean, I understand sort of people might sort of look at this kind of thing and think, well, how on earth does that actually go against the zones and take advantage of some of the gaps? There's kind of a lot of things going on here in some concepts, but it's all kind of about reading what the defensive side of the ball are going to do. The strong safety is going to be on the other side on this play, barring some strange things going on, because you've got a tight end and a running back on that side. I'd be deeply surprised to find out the strong safety decides not to bother with that, but that, as for defensive coaches to decide. You've got the fade on the backside, the right hand side. Again, similar to previous plays, it's a distraction. If you think you've got a one-on-one, fine. If the guy's able just to burn the corner, maybe he's sitting too shallow or he's not dropping out fast enough, take it. Also with sort of that sort of slant post kind of route on the left-hand side, if the free safety creeps over, you've got a one-on-one. If you like your matchup, you might have a size matchup. You take the mismatch. With the running back going out into the flat, and the tight end running a drag route, the safety is going to have to come down into that sort of curl flat zone. And if he comes down, you're going to have a window on that sort of post route, slant post. Depends what you want to run. It depends how deep you're wanting to go with it. Behind the space that he vacates. It's kind of like what we spoke about with blitzes in the cover 2. Golden rule with a blitz is throw to where the blitzer comes from. There's always going to be a gap where he comes from because someone has to cover that area. So if that strong safety comes down to cover the flat, you're going to take that slant post route on the backside. Another thing you're going to have is with this drag route from the tight end, he's going to force those linebackers to really sort of hang tight and not really get their chance to drop off as much as they like. Now, if they go ahead and just drop off sort of 10 yards deep into their zones, feel free to take the check down on the drag, let him do the rest. Great news. You also have a chance to kind of hit that on the back end if these guys are dropping out. The deep in from the slot can pin that sort of outside linebacker on the right-hand side in and give you that sort of drag route out the backside. And if he gets out that backside sort of with a yard or 2 yards of space, there's nobody out there to cover him. So the minute he gets through, he can turn upfield, and if your wide receiver is able to make a block on the cornerback, you could be looking at 6. Don't be afraid to take a check down pass. Again, as I said earlier, everyone wants to make the glory play. Everyone wants to throw the 50-yard touchdown Hail Mary because it looks great on the stat sheet and it looks great on film. But ultimately, if you throw a 3-yard pass to your tight end and he takes it 70 yards, it's just as good.
Yeah.
Again, if these guys have seen this drag route from you a lot, they kind of know that's what to expect, and the linebackers sit down, and it doesn't allow that sort of outside linebacker on the right-hand side to bail out as quickly as he'd like, you could well have a situation where you want that slot on the right-hand side to almost turn it into a seam. If nobody's going to drop out and cover him, you just want him to go. But otherwise, you can hit him immediately out of his cut as well. Another important thing, we've spoke about it against cover 2. This is where you need smart players. With regards, if that outside linebacker, say he tracks the drag and he's dropping out the way, then you're going to have an increased gap between the right-hand side linebacker and the middle linebacker. Now, you don't want your slot guy that's running the deep end to just continue to run back into coverage. If that outside linebacker drops out, creates that gap, you want him to sit down. That's all he has to do, sit down in that gap. It's an easy throw. And again, it gives him the opportunity to get upfield. Although it's a bit more complicated, I know you have to kind of refocus. There's multiple ways you can kind of go with this. There's multiple reads you can kind of do. Again, if you're talking about situations where sort of the corner sits shallow, the strong safety drops out, the free safety in the middle, then again, you're kind of going to be sitting to that situation where you are going to have to be looking to that check down on the backside or the deep in. But there's always going to be an option, no matter what way they rotate or what way they move. It's just about identifying and finding out where the hole is going to be in that defense.
Well, I hope he's got all that. I'll just say that this in route is supposed to be 10 yards. Like, the way I've drawn it's terrible, but really this could be as shallow or deep as you want, purely because of this guy. Now, Chris is right here that the one bit I do see about this is that this guy tracks the drag and comes in to get him. Then you're relying an awful lot on these two backers to drop slightly slanted into their zones to stop this route. And if he drops down here, you can take this route 12 yards and straight out of the break hit your man. I guess for me, the only problem I see with it is that if you don't do that, then this backer comes across to cover the end of the route. This guy comes down to cover here. Strong safety is coming down to cover the flat. You're not leaving yourself with very much option. But as Chris said there, that if the strong safety is coming down, if this guy's running deep enough in, the free safety might come down and try and get him. It leaves you the post over the backside. So again, it's all about reading here. And this one is particularly more complicated than the other ones, because we wanted to kind of throw a more advanced one in for some of those QBs out there that can potentially do this. And there is options here again. I've actually seen this kind of play where this running back comes out, the quarterback's looking this direction. Oh, I've just cut it off. The quarterback's looking this direction, so the corner bails on his man to come down and make this tackle before the ball's even thrown. I've seen that happen. And then the quarterback can take this throw straight out of the cut if he does that. Really, he should not be doing that. This guy should be following this guy all the way through, because the strong safety will come down and get him. But it does happen. Bust coverages happen all the time. And that's why there's a lot of stuff going on here. It potentially just causes confusion more than anything, and really allows the option for a throw.
I mean, again, what you're probably likely to see here with things like this is that because you're going to have the strong safety on that side, you're going to bump the linebackers across. So that outside linebacker is already going to be sitting out, maybe slightly shade inside of that slot receiver. But again, even with that bump over, it's still stretching that gap between the weak side linebacker and the middle linebacker, which gives you that option. Again, we spoke about that kind of, we kind of wanted to maybe turn that into a seam route. Again, if you run that seam and the free safety comes over, you've now got a post on the backside. So, it's about being adaptable. Like, yes, in the drawing, if you stick to everything how it is exactly meant to be drawn, then you're going to have issues. But we're kind of covering each way you can go with this.
Based on movement,
based on what the defense might do. I mean, basically what we're saying here is if the defense covers it absolutely perfectly in it, there's going to be plays that the defense cover things perfectly. That happens. The defense wins that battle, so be it. But a lot of things have to go right for them in order to make sure that they cover and take away every option. This one's less about having multiple options and more about one of the options will be available depending on what they do.
Yeah, and as you've said there, just pointing this out again. So if he's saying if this outside backer here comes out, which he will, he likely bumps across a little bit. Now, if this backer's eyes are on here, he's likely not tracking this tight end. So, and as much as he maybe tracks this outside guy and sits in the zone perfectly. If this guy's up to full speed, he's flashing across the front of this linebacker. There are maybe 6 or 7 linebackers I've seen in Brit Ball that are fast enough to cover a tight end in full stride coming straight across their face when they're not expecting him. So Chris is right here in that really if this guy bumps out and he does come down, then this route should be open right behind him. This guy doesn't come down and he bumps back a bit and is watching the slot receiver. This guy will flash right across his face and it's an easy catch, nice easy throw, and he can take off downfield. And you're really only left with a corner and a free safety to tackle him, unless your middle linebacker is absolutely rapid. So
I mean, ultimately, what you're going to have is you're going to have 2 people running past that linebacker going in opposite directions, and he can't go both ways. And if he leans in as if he's coming with the in, you take the guy dragging across. If he leans like he's going with the drag, you take it in the gap in the middle. It's about kind of finding who you want to take the most advantage of and finding the hole in the zone.
Yeah. So we've went through a few plays there now. As I said, I understand that these ones are a bit more complex, and really it's because so many people do play cover 3. It is much easier for people to understand on defense. New players, it's much easier for people to understand. I go here, and if anyone comes in my zone, I hit them. I cover them. If someone throws a ball in my zone, I try and catch it. The simple stuff like that, where you're not like in cover 1, you're not on an island with the guy you're supposed to be marking. Cover 2, you're not worried that if you do your job, the person behind you might not, and etc. Cover 3 is a safe coverage, is what I'd probably call it, especially for your defensive backfield. It's a much safer place for them to be, especially if they're new to the game. So some of these plays are a little bit more QB orientated. They need to make sure that the quarterback knows what he's doing. So we've went through them there. All right, so that's some more plays for you. We have covered now red zone, cover 2, cover 3. We'll cover some more stuff probably next year now. And also we will have our show starting up again once the Brit Ball leagues are announced. So we will see you when that comes through. Thank you very much.
Looking forward to it. Thanks.